All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk again about Concord. Now, these particular numbers that we're going to talk about with Concord is the fact that Concord has officially gone into open beta. That means literally anyone and anybody can play this game. It is not tailored to just people who pre-ordered the game like the last beta was, although, keep in mind, people who pre-ordered the game were allowed to give away 4 keys per one person who pre-ordered the game. So, I mean, basically anybody could play it at that point. But this is the open beta that anyone and everyone can play. And apparently they can't even get past 2,500 concurrent players in just the first day.
You got knocked the fuck out!
Now, you guys already know how I feel about Concord, but maybe you're new to the channel. Perhaps I got to rehash it, but I'll just rehash it really quick. Concord is a DEI shooter. There is no doubts about it. It is literally, I guess, fully embracing the DEI mindset through and through, all the way down to the pronouns for every single character. However, this game has every right to exist. It's a brand new IP, and they can create something that they want to create that happens to be DEI oriented. That's perfectly fine. But where the conversation comes into play is the fact that DEI shooters like this, or DEI games in general like this, almost never do well, right? Like through and through, 9.5 out of 10 times, they never do well, right? There's that one game every now and then that will break the status quo, but for the most part, these games just do not do well because they're trying to adhere to everyone, thus they adhere to no one. So we have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Concord Open Beta fails to top 2,500 concurrent players in the first day. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Firewalk Studios open beta for Concord went live on July 18th, and the game failed to top 2,500 concurrent players in its first day. The official X account for Concord announced that open beta was live at 4 p.m. Eastern on July 18th. And then it says, according to SteamDB, the game's peak concurrent players capped at 2,388 people about 2 hours after the open beta went live at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For comparisons, the game's early access beta that ran through last weekend hit a peak concurrent player count of 1,124. That means the game's player count just barely doubled between that much more restrictive early access beta and the open beta. Now, this is where I'm trying to explain to people who are shilling for this game right now. You know, you got your gaming urinalist shilling for this game. You got your weird Twitter accounts shilling for this game, trying to pretend like this is the most amazing thing they've ever seen in their lives. I try to explain to these people, doubling your early access beta with an open beta is not exactly very impressive when your early access beta was 1,100 players and you only got to about 2,400 players. You're giving away the game for free essentially right now, and you can only get a peak of around 2,400 players when on average the numbers are actually much worse than that. YouTuber Endymion also notes that the open beta is currently free with the open beta, but will have an initial price tag of $40 when it's officially released to the public. He wrote on X, this shit is free, and they can only get 2,300 players. Shit is dead on arrival. Now, I've said this in my last video, and I'll say it again. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably the most telling information in general about Concord. Concord has a price tag of $40, right? The competition that they're competing against, Overwatch, Valorant, free to play, essentially, right? These games are free to play, and you're trying to compare yourselves against those games, but having a $40 price tag. So you're going to add a premium price tag to it and then try to milk people for more money through the live service team shooter model. That's insane. You already are not able to compete with the competition by having a $40 price tag, and they are free to play. I don't know who thought of that, but it clearly shows that people are really stupid when it comes to business over there at Firewalk Studios. You should have designed this game to be free to play from the start. That's the only way you're going to be able to compete. Otherwise, I don't even know why you're trying at this point. You can interject all the DEI you want. You can talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, pronouns. You can make every single character ugly for the modern audience. You can literally make every character trans. It doesn't matter. If you have a $40 price tag and your competition has a $0 price tag in terms of point of entry, you're fucked. There's no way you're going to be able to compete. It's no surprise that the player counts for the game are so low, given the negative reaction to the game spotlight in the PlayStation State of Play. presentation back in May. The presentation revealed that the game was a 5v5 multiplayer team shooter, and it would feature pronoun nonsense and DEI design characters. In fact, Firewalk Studios director of IP, Kim Kranis, also hinted that the game would push woke ideology through transgenderism in cinematic vignettes that will release weekly. She detailed every character brings their own unique personality, skills, and wide-ranging perspectives to the crew. Every week when you log into Concord, you'll be welcomed with a new cinematic vignette that will give you a chance to see our characters off the job. Kranis added they will feature ongoing narrative arcs that grow the character stories and relationships and unpack the broader Concord galaxy. Now, they've been focusing on these vignettes in terms of marketing their game since inception, right? They've been talking about this nonstop. And I've been saying this, it's because the fact that Overwatch dropped the ball on their PvE mode that they promised with Overwatch 2, Concord, I guess, thinks that they can focus on that and hope to take away Overwatch players simply because they're giving you PvE-oriented stuff, or at least a backstory, storyline, etc. They think that by doing that, they can steal away the Overwatch player. I don't think that's going to happen in the slightest. I think most Overwatch players are so dedicated to their Overwatch characters that they're not going to want to give up the game just so they can watch a cutscene in another game, right? They're so used to getting fucked by Blizzard, they're not just going to change just because you offer a cutscene. That's not something that's going to work. But in their mind, they think that that's the thing that's going to draw people into the game. That's what's going to set them apart, because every other, everything else is competition for them is not focusing on that, right? They're not focusing on PvE. They're not focusing on storyline. They're just focusing on the gameplay, team shooter, esports stuff. That's what they're focusing on. So Concord thinks it could be different by trying to make it all about storyline and the relationships with your characters and gayness and pronouns and all this other nonsense that most players, even some of the most hardcore leftist players, are not going to care about. They just want to play their game that they've been playing for a long time. And Concord is about 5 years too late, honestly. It's too late. This should have came out 5 years ago. But the game coming out now stands no chance. It says numerous players took issue with the character designs. Kabruta's Rambo, who created the Sweet Baby Inc. Detective Steam Curator list, and DEIDetective.com reacted to the listed pronouns, writing on X, so the fucking robot has pronouns in the Sony game. Okay. X-user Mongolor mocked the character of Amari. Oh my god, finally, literally a playable tank. On YouTube, players torched the game for being a live service game and a 5v5 team shooter, way too similar to Overwatch. Says Concord looks exactly like the kind of game I will never play. A 10-second countdown for a 30-second countdown is insane. Sony, understand we want games focused on single-player narrative or not multiplayer service games. Concord equals Valorant equals Overwatch. Nothing new here. And that's why I said, man, this game came out way too late. Way too late. And on top of the fact that they're marketing all of this with DEI, it just goes to show that they haven't learned their lesson. They're going to continue doing this nonsense. They think this is the way they're going to be successful. And it's just proof that these numbers are proof, man. 2,200, I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, this game is going to tank within 5 days. You're going to see this number drop into the few hundreds within 5 days. Even with an open beta. That depends. I don't even know how long the open beta is live for. I'm trying to remember how long it's live for. I think it's a few days. I don't think it's 5 days. I think it might be like 2 or 3 days. So by the end of the open beta, this number is going to be in the hundreds. I could almost guarantee you that. But obviously, we will keep following Concord, and I'll update you accordingly. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.